Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Dietitian Life, where we tell you about our weeks. Today, as you'll see, special guest Joel Feren, the nutrition guy. Check out his Insta, link here. Welcome, Joel.
Thanks, Tyson. Thanks for having me.
That's all right. So for those that don't know of your accolades, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and what got you to where you are today?
Yeah, of course. I guess a few questions rolled into one. I often find it hard to describe exactly what I do. I'm probably much better off at telling you my journey. In terms of a quick bio, I obviously Melbourne-based dietitian, very active in the nutrition communication space, media spokesperson for DAA, and starting to do a lot more work with food industry, so working as a nutrition consultant. So I guess I'll give you a bit of an overview of my journey. I guess it's a bit of a long one. I'm not quite sure if it's too dissimilar to a lot of other dietitians. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. But I knew I was interested in science. So I actually did my undergrad was in neuroscience, which was kind of like a glorified science degree. And after that, I did my honours in exercise phys, and that's what I thought I would end up pursuing as a career. But a chance meeting with a well-known dietitian swayed me to pursue nutrition dietetics. And that was when I was 24. And I did followed up with nutrition, then the Masters in Dietetics. And as they say, the rest is history. So that's a very short overview. But yeah, it really took me, I guess, till sort of mid-20s to realise what I wanted to do. And it's a discussion that I often have with a number of dietitians. I mean, when I graduated, I had no clue what my career would look like. So I often pinch myself and, often reflect on my journey so far and think, wow, I'm doing some pretty cool things, and I've certainly done some exciting things as well. So who knows what the future might hold.
How many years out are you now?
I am just over 5 years out, or I guess 5.5, but I really only started work I think it was early April 2013 after a bit of travel.
Okay.
Graduating.
Cool. And what was your first job?
My first job wasn't really dietetics related. It was working in corporate health, doing health checks. So I remember the conversations that I would have with some of these clients. I would have 15 minutes and I would have to talk about a number of things. And I think the most involved it got was, can you increase your fruit intake to 2 serves a day rather than 1? Yeah. I
think the people that work for the company that I believe you're talking about, I call themselves just health professionals, not dietitian or exercise physiologist or whatever they are. Most of them have qualifications, but because your work's not specific to that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So did you enjoy that?
Look, to be honest, I didn't, but it was a bit of a launching pad. And I think, as I said before, I like to reflect on my journey so far. And I think every opportunity is a valuable one. And I always try to learn or take away lessons from particular opportunities. So I don't see it as a negative. I saw it as a start. Yeah. And I think it was a positive one.
Okay, good. And what are you doing now? What's your role? Like you said, you're media spokesperson, you're active in nutrition space. Do you work in private practice as well? Or do you do aged care?
Pretty much hit all the nails on the head. I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. As I said before, I really struggle to work out, to describe exactly what I do. But I do work in private practice. So I work from 3 different clinics. And funnily enough, I know it's the first thing that I've mentioned here, but it's often the last thing I talk about. So I'm more excited about all the things that I'm doing in the media space, obviously social media, the writing, because I really enjoy writing, doing a lot of recipe development. That's something that I love doing. And I've had some incredible experiences doing recipe developments, working with a number of brands, creating cookbooks. Got a little segment on telly at the moment as well. And I never thought I'd be cooking for a living, but just a little side note on me, I actually wanted to be a chef growing up. Okay. That was what I wanted to do. I loved food. I loved to cook. Yeah. And I feel that now working as a dietitian doing recipe development, I'm kind of mixing two worlds, obviously the nutrition side of thing, but also the culinary side.
Why didn't you do chef?
My happy place.
Why didn't you become a chef?
It was my parents who talked me out of it.
Okay.
They said that working conditions weren't great, long hours, lots of stress.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I actually did work in hospitality when I was studying, but that was more front of house.
Yeah.
But once again, I thought that was a really valuable experience. It taught me a lot. And I actually used to chat with the chefs, and sometimes I get my hands dirty in the kitchen as well. So I certainly picked up some skills that have only held me in good stead.
Okay. You wouldn't go back and become a chef?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, I'll never say never, but I'm pretty close to saying never.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you like what you're doing now, and if you can do it without having to be an apprentice for 4 or 5 years and work 18-hour kind of. Yeah.
I actually thought when I was doing my undergrad degree when I was 19, I remember sitting in a psychology class and I thought, look, I'll probably end up finishing the degree, but I actually was still pretty keen to work in hospital.
Okay.
Back in those days, so I thought as a joke I might open my own cafe and have my degree posted on the wall. But I'm glad that I persisted. Obviously, finished my undergrad and then went on to bigger and better things in the professional world rather than going into hospitality, because I think it's so hard, so hard.
Yeah. One of my favorite jobs was actually in hospitality. I was working in a pancake place, not the well-known one, but just flipping pancakes. And I don't know what it was about it, but I was cooking other like crepes and doing other things as well. But God, it was good fun sometimes. Like, and I was the cook at the front of the house kind of thing. And yeah, just like when you get through a massive service of like lunch and there's just like chaos and you can nail it. It's just like, oh yeah, just did that. That accomplishment of getting through that, I guess, challenge was kind of fun.
Totally.
I don't think I'd ever want to work full time in hospitality, but it was good fun while I was studying.
Yeah, it certainly got to a point where I fell out of love with it.
Yeah.
And I think now being in the position that I'm in where I get to cook, it's on my terms.
Yeah.
I get to do it from my kitchen.
Yeah, because you run your own business pretty much. You don't work for anyone.
Yeah, at the moment I'm a free agent. So I was recently working for a company doing some work in aged care, but decided to leave that earlier in the year and pursue my own thing. So yeah, it's working really well.
Yeah, cool. Would you, like, on reflection, do you feel like you should have done it sooner, or do you feel like it took the right path? You tried a bunch of stuff, got experience, and then doing this. What do you?
Yeah, look, it's a great question. I think I probably did choose the right time. I don't know if I could have done it any earlier.
Yeah.
And, probably like a lot of dietitians who are watching this, they're probably in the same position, maybe working for a company, trying to do their own thing and sort of waiting for that time, the right time. So for me, I had enough things sort of bubbling away in the background that I could leave. And I guess, there are so many positives to working for someone else. You've got annual leave and sick leave and you get super. And it's a regular income. And I guess, for me now, who knows what the next week might bring or what the next month might bring. Trying to hustle as hard as I can to secure jobs. But I guess there are certainly positives to working for someone else and having that regular income and, not necessarily having to stress of, when the money's next going to be coming through.
And I think it's the support as well. Like, you've obviously got a bit of experience under your belt, and you've got good connections, so you've probably got a decent support network. But especially if you're first starting out, I feel like you kind of need to not be responsible for absolutely everything.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it would just destroy. Like, I advocate highly about how it would destroy people early on if they're trying to be a dietitian while also trying to run a business and everything that goes along with it. But, and you kind of change to run your own thing once you've had those connections, you've got stuff there, that it's not like a massive, all right, now I've got no income whatsoever. Yeah. Now what? Which would be hard.
It would absolutely be hard. And I remember a conversation I had when I first graduated, because I actually started my own private practice about 3 months into or at least following graduation. And this dietitian, basically discouraged me. She said, at least have 2 years under your belt. She wasn't necessarily doubting my knowledge, but it was more so about those connections, and building a bit of a name and profile. And at that stage, I went out on a limb, and I felt like I took on enough. I wasn't necessarily sacrificing a lot to start my own private practice. But I really do see the value in networking, and building not only a support network, but building those connections outside of the dietetic space as well. Obviously, we connected on social media, and we're both pretty active in that space. And I think I think dietitians can work collaboratively, but I think it's also about thinking outside the square and who else you can connect with, and who knows what opportunities might present. So definitely, yeah, I think for new grads, it's particularly hard. And, it's been a long 5 years. It's been an incredible 5 years, but it's taken me a long time to get to this point where, I still don't even feel like I'm established. I'm still working at it. I'm still hustling, which is my favorite word in business. You've got to. But yeah, definitely trying to create those support structures and that network. So my mates accuse me of going to the opening of an envelope, because I get invited to a number of things, and I think they're fantastic opportunities to meet people and to network. Okay.
What do you think was your have been some of your biggest challenges, I guess, from post-graduation to now? I know it's a big loaded question, but
there have been so many challenges, and I think one of the things I absolutely saw the value in creating a bit of a profile, brand, a bit of a personality. So I think that has been a challenge. I think I've gotten to a point where, maybe I do have a bit of a presence, but it's certainly been one hell of a journey. So I see that as a bit of a challenge. And I think securing work as well has been another challenge, trying different things. When you asked me before about whether I stuck at that, the aged care job for a little bit too long, and I'm not quite sure if I gave you a proper answer, and I probably said, I did say that I chose the right time to leave, but some would say I probably should have left earlier. But I think the challenge was to secure enough work and have those opportunities open to me, that I probably, stuck at it a little bit longer. There's certainly been those challenges, but I think with challenges, I think there's opportunities to grow and develop and experience new things. So I was chatting to a well-known dietitian the other day, and she said there's always a solution to a problem. So I think don't ever see a challenge as something that's too difficult to overcome. I think they're exciting opportunities, and they obviously present a need to think laterally, and I think that's sometimes what I thrive on. I think what a lot of people do, their backs against the wall, that's their time to shine, and to think outside that square and think, well, how am I going to get around this? How can I problem solve? And because we're all in it for the same reason. I mean, we're all in it to build careers. We're all in it to build livelihoods. So I think these opportunities are wonderful things that present to us, and I think it's just about working out how you can navigate that situation.
Did you answer the question? It was an awesome commentary.
I probably didn't know. Well, let's go back to your question.
What have been your biggest challenges?
Specific challenges. I think, if we're getting specific, then obviously building enough of a clientele in private practice. That's certainly been one challenge. I think I still go back to that, building the profile, building that presence as another challenge. Obviously doing the media work and growing from there, that's certainly been a challenge. It's certainly been a fun one. But building enough work, building that client base and building that presence, I think that's probably been the biggest challenge.
Yeah, well, and especially now, given how noisy that space is, there's so many people trying to be a personal brand, to work with the media, to get famous in it. And like with Instagram going, I say it often, I'm not a blonde, attractive female, so I'm not going to get 100,000 followers. You're not, but you're on your way.
A blonde, attractive female. Thanks, Tyson.
Yeah, on your way there. Look, but you've got quite a number of followers on Insta, obviously, and you're growing your brand and you're in the media. So like, you obviously made it. Maybe it was the hustle, and you don't feel like you've made it yet, and you're on your way. But yeah,
I certainly don't think I've made it. I think I'm on that path. That journey, on that path, exactly. And I think it's about, trying some new things. And I certainly saw the merit in signing up to social media. And I see a real need for dietitians to get out there. And I think if we can all support each other, I think the louder our voice, the more it'll resonate within the community. And I think, unfortunately, you talk about competitive space within the profession, but I think outside the profession and that noise. And I know that's something a lot of dietitians, get up in arms about, because you've got the likes of all these nutrition gurus and wellness warriors who are putting out certain messages that are not evidence-based. And, I think my thinning hairline is testament to some of these wellness gurus, because they just drive me nuts, but I know I'm not alone.
Yeah, 100%. And then at the same time, it's just like, well, I can't hate them because they don't actually know any better and they're just trying to make money. But then it's just like, well, that's not what we're in it for, and ethics plays into part. So it's just like a hard pill to swallow a lot of the time. I don't know how you feel about it, but it's just like, I don't know. I get up in arms about it as well. It kills me. And like Peter, my offside, actually just blows a mind about half the stuff that she follows now. I try not follow a lot of them because I get so riled.
But I think the louder our voice, and obviously being in the media and having that presence, and then being on social media, hopefully we can cut through some of that noise and the BS. It's really crucial. And I think slowly but surely we're doing it. And I take my hat off to some of the younger dietitians who are really owning it.
Yeah.
In that space.
Yeah. They're the blonde, attractive females.
Yeah. Something to aspire to, Tom.
Yeah, something to think about. So we did the challenges. What do you think some specific greatest successes have been?
Yeah, I guess I call them little wins. So I've had a number of wins, and obviously some of the media work that I do. I'll never forget my first experience on TV was early last year. And that was just an incredible experience. I mean, I had no idea what I was going to do when I left uni. I never thought I would be on TV. And I remember leaving home that day with a handful of shirts in my hand and driving to the studio and cooking on telly. I mean, it was probably the biggest highlight of my career so far, because I just thought it was a real what the moment. And I mean, friends are often in awe of some of the things that I do and some of the collaborations that I do, and some of the things that I get. I mean, some of the opportunities that I've had as well. Obviously, lucky enough to go to Japan last year with Yakult, and often come home to boxes on the door with free product. Cookware and the like, and obviously, my ever-growing collection of aprons. I guess I've had a number of wins. I mean, even things like some of the articles that I've had published. I was very lucky is the right word, but I won the Nutrition Storehouse blog competition back in 2016. That was a real thrill. So I guess they're sort of the main wins, but the everyday sort of wins as well. The clients that you have success with, little old Auntie Mavis in a nursing home who you're able to prescribe a thickened ice cream or non-melting ice cream because she's got dysphagia. I mean, I see that as a real win and a real tick in our sort of box as well, and sort of the role that we can play. Not only with food, but promoting quality of life. So you can sort of, you've got your big wins, TV and getting published in big publications, but then you've got your little wins along the way and the real important role that dietitians do play. That's probably, I guess, the wins.
Great answer.
Thank you.
Getting on TV, you can't really, that's the pinnacle for so many now, I think. Like, I'm the dietitian for whatever. And I know it might have been only one, or you got a more frequent one now. But, that's like that what the moment, like you said. It'd be like, oh crap, all right, this is happening.
Yeah, it was like that. I mean, just a very funny story. It's one of my favorite stories to share. I got married last year, and a week after the wedding, my wife was helping me bake cheesecake for the TV show. And back then I wasn't much of a baker. And if you follow me now on Instagram, you'll see that I make muffins and banana breads and all these different things. So I've really taken a love for baking. But back then I hadn't baked anything in my life. And so we're baking this cheesecake together, and I was being a bit cheeky in the kitchen. I can't remember what I was doing. And my wife turned around to me and she said, "Joel, I am baking for your career." So, I mean, it was just something that we often joke about, and just think, wow, as a dietitian, not only do I get to cook, but then obviously appear on TV. So, yeah, it was a pretty surreal moment.
Cool. Awesome. Is there anything else you kind of want to cover, or anything that you want to share during this to anyone out there?
Do you want me to give sort of my 2 cents worth in giving people a pep talk, perhaps? I'm not sure.
Well, look, if you wanted to do pep talk, yeah, like, round out, I guess, what you want others to kind of recognize. Like, a lot of the people that watch this are new grads or students and coming into the industry, and there's some experience, but mostly that cohort. So whether there's anything, I think you've covered a lot of it already, but whether there's anything rounding out that you would like to say.
Yeah, look, I think obviously it's been five years since I finished. I'm not quite sure about some of the courses these days, but I know that when I went through uni, it was very much geared towards clinical or food service or community public health. And we did a little bit of media back then. We certainly didn't do any social media. But what I would encourage people to do is just think outside the square. And it's totally cool to pursue the traditional route, working in a hospital or working in a community health centre. But it's not necessarily for everyone. Just like being on TV and doing media and being active on social media is not for everyone. But I think we've really got to differentiate ourselves and think outside the square, because I think there's so many opportunities for dietitians. So if you want to build a bit of a voice or profile, jump on social media, build that media presence as well. Certainly, start at the beginning. Contact community radio stations or your local, women's rag or whatever it might be. But I think there's certainly so many opportunities for dietitians to get their voice heard. And I think if you do want to sort of go the non-traditional route, there's lots of things that are open to us, be it food industry, obviously the media, social media, because it's definitely given me certain opportunities. Really just go with the flow. Obviously I talked about those challenges, but then also the wins. And I think some of those wins have been generated because I've been challenged.
Yeah. And then it's just be patient and hustle, as you've said several times. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, even though I'm at the point where I'm at now at 5 years, I mean, I've still got a long way to go. But it's been a real challenge. And every day throws up certain opportunities and those hurdles as well. So, I have some pretty crap days sometimes that everybody does. Yeah. But always try to flip a negative into a positive and see what you can do, because I think there's so much we can offer. So for dietitians out there, who are recently graduated and struggled to get a job, just keep hustling, keep putting yourself out there and keep meeting people, because you don't know what's just around the corner. Sorry, I speak like an old man, and
that was perfect. Like, I thought if you just finished it there, I'm like, all right, that's the end. But you.
I really don't want to be, that old guy giving pearls of wisdom. But if you can just take one thing away, I think, just keep at it. Unfortunately, I meet a lot of dietitians who eventually just give up because it's too hard, it's too noisy, or there aren't those opportunities. But I think it's really about sometimes about creating them.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Joel. It's the end of Dietitian Life.